Swing 42, Jerome Bolero, Swing 42 where... Yeah. Let's play Swing 42, making it the melody better. It just sounds too light when it should be more bluesy.
I think that in the past couple years, we've fallen a bit away from where we started in this music. We all started because of Django.
We thought, well, we work with all these different musicians, and we're gonna have to pick one. And how are we gonna pick one, since we like all of them so much, and they all have something different to them? Maybe we can just call all of them and, invite each and every one for a bunch of tunes, and as opposed to just a few of us, we can all get together and pay tribute and play his music and have a great time together.
We got some of the best players in America, Jason Anick, Ben Powell, Zeger, Rob Hardt, and then the core rhythm section of GBQ. And we're just trying to be faithful to Django, but put, a little modern spin on it as well.
The aspect of it that's uncharacteristic of Gonzalo is Gonzalo taking on the task of trying to manage 7 or 8 or 10 people and actually pulling it off with some degree of success.
We're gonna record to tape, which we've never done, and we're all gonna record, in a room all together with leading, and so to try and get a nice live sound. Like most jazz recordings, I think you just do a few takes and you pick the best one.
With this project, we're trying to, make it as much of a Django thing as we can. So the songs we're picking, we're really trying to focus on the songs Django wrote, not just the ones he's known for playing, the ones he wrote. So that's the main focus, Django Reinhardt compositions.
For me, it's going back and listening to the original recordings of Django, and certainly as a Stephane Grappelli lover, going back and listening to early Grappelli and just understanding how advanced it was, some of the things they were doing at that time.
Playing in this project has kind of made me remember why I started doing this music. It's Django, it's the best.
Gonzalo Bergara, no doubt, I think the number one gypsy jazz guitarist in North America, if not the world. Such an incredible sound, very distinctive, original sound Gonzalo's always had. Such control of his expression. We've always known it's Gonzalo. You only need to hear 5 seconds of his music to know it's him.
I fell in love with the guitar through blues. Blues was my main style on the guitar for 10 years, and that's before I really discovered Django and his music. So I was obsessed with all the American blues players, and that's another thing that I love so much about Django is that you hear so much blues in him, and you know, you gotta have blues if you're gonna play jazz. Being in this ensemble with all these great musicians inspires all of us to not only to be a better musician, but to pay a better tribute to Django. You know, if I forget the idea that sometimes we're trying to be respectful to Django's music, you know, I hear everybody else is playing and I know what they're going for, so it inspires me and it inspired all of us to remain more true to the style, which is it's a very fun style that even though it's still happening, maybe in a lot of places it's not played like it was played back then, and maybe that was the idea of this.
Gonzalo likes to be Gonzalo, and he likes to do his thing. We've been playing and jamming some stuff, and it's great. He'll do some of these great Django phrases that you recognize from the record, but he won't, do the whole solo. He'll just do these little phrases that remind you where this music's coming from, and then he'll do his thing and take it to a whole new place.
I'm hoping with the new Hot Love of America we will go back to the roots and remember why we like Django so much, and just enjoy playing that music that he made as opposed to writing our own music and putting so much of ourselves into it. I think that's what I'd like to get back, to get from this ensemble, is to be able to have fun in that style, to improvise in that language again.
The parallels, I think, generally between sport and music are extremely strong, and particularly with golf. Going to the driving range, being specific about a club choice, maybe a certain distance that you're trying to accomplish, a certain shot shape that you're trying to accomplish, repetition, muscle memory. Both need to be practiced, I suppose. One needs to practice being in the room and then also practice competing and being out there. I think I probably practice my violin better after I've played golf. So my name is Ben Powell. I'm a violinist, a jazz violinist, and I contribute to the Hot Club of America by playing the role of, I suppose, Stephane Grappelli.
Ben Powell came into the project, was one of the first names that we brought into the project. I was always very impressed with Ben's ability to swing, so we always had a good time playing together. He's somebody that likes to play less notes, but maybe swing them in the right way.
I was drawn to jazz music when I was in about my early teens, 13, 14 years old. I heard a CD by Stephane Grappelli. At that point, it was very liberating for me to hear somebody play the violin so freely without any music, and to improvise and to make music up, because until that point I'd been reading music.
Ben is a wonderful player, and I've come to realize he's a great classical player. He also plays the crap out of jazz, and he's really swinging, and he sounds a lot like Grappelli. I'd say pretty close.
I suppose there's a lot of parallels that go beyond just the practice of golf or just the practice of music that we could make with gypsy jazz and this community element. And being able to play golf anywhere in the world, that's the other thing. A bit like Django, you can take his music anywhere to people that know it and play it with them. You can pretty much take a golf club most places now, and I could enjoy an afternoon with somebody I may not be able to communicate with linguistically, but we could probably have a great game of golf and enjoy each other's company just being on the same fairway.
One, two, one, two, three.
As a classical musician, I love exploring the melodies within gypsy jazz. I think it's a wonderful thing. A lot of the melodies that Stephane and Django wrote are wonderful, and a lot of them are written for the instrument, for the violin, so I find them very expressive and just always a very a wonderful way to explore a melody and to be able to play it. It's a very special thing. This is fun, and it's important for people to remember that, particularly people who aren't pursuing this as a profession, who really approach the music as a way of liberating themselves and really for the love of it. We have to remember that's what this is.
Every story about Django can be and has been told 5 different ways.
According to what I've heard, something having to do with plastics in the fire.
His wife at the time was making flowers out of some super flammable material, it's celluloid.
And when she hears him come in, she lights up a candle.
Rumour has it that a candle was knocked over and that's how the caravan was set ablaze, and Django was able to get everybody out, but he burnt his fingers in the process, apparently holding a blanket over his head. He fainted from the smoke.
He ran in to get his wife out, in the process burned his hand, you know, to the point where he only had the use of basically two fingers.
You know, I heard that Django was pretty sad several times about, there's a time when he said that all these chords that he heard in his head that he couldn't play because of his hand disability. And I remember like feeling so bad for him, you know, like I can't imagine what he would have been able to do with 4 fingers, but you know, when you hear Django, you don't hear any limitations in his playing. So, I mean, he's still one of the best guitar players that's ever lived.
So I'm Brian, and most of the time I play bass. And today we're going to be making some pie, because I really like pie. There are all kinds of music food analogies, you know. All of this stuff is better than, you know, the sum of the parts. If you just bite into a chunk of butter, as satisfying as that can be sometimes, it's really not until it all comes together, and that's definitely true of a band and musicians.
I met Brian Nezley through Jeff. At the time, this is late 2009, Brian was playing upright bass for a few months. He's really become an incredibly strong and solid bass player in just this last few years, you know, by working so much.
Who I heard this from initially, but it's something that I've stolen and kind of used as my own, is that I'm always looking for the best musicians that will still let me work with them. You know, like you always want to be the weakest member of your band. And because of that, you know, if you're keyed into it and you're open to it, it just, you know, you get a lot more out of it. If you want to continue the food music metaphor, I kind of like to, I don't like over-seasoned stuff. Like if you have some good apples and, you know, let that stuff do the work. Like if you have a good song and a good melody, then just stay out of the way of it.
There are a few things that I can relax and enjoy, and surfing is one of them. And I try and do as much as I can when I'm not on the road. And today's one of those days. If I'm sitting there waiting for a wave, yeah, I'll think about songs and music and all that stuff. But in the actual act of surfing, no, man. You think about nothing else. Nothing else.
Jeff is a real trip, and a real Southern California guy, I think. I mean, being English and living in Boston, I always depicted palm trees and surfboards and hamburgers and, you know, West Coast is the best coast type thing, and Jeff certainly, I suppose, is all of that.
You know, I played guitar my whole life, and I had guitar teachers when I was young would, oh, Django, we gotta hear this Django guy. And they play it for me, and I heard, I was like, this is amazing. But, you know, coming from a rock background, what is this guy doing? I don't even want to get it. I don't know what's happening here. Like I said, the playing, the rhythm guitars, that backbeat, you know, it's got the drive of rock. It's got the technicalities a lot of times of classical music. You know, it's just so many different things that as a player, so fun. It's so fun.
The unique things about gypsy jazz are definitely the rhythm. You know, you don't have a drum set, you have one or two rhythm guitars doing that, keeping that steady rhythm going, and it's very appealing for a lot of things. It's very classy. I like it a lot.
It's nice to come back and see people don't get to do what I do, because we take it for granted, I think. We're lucky. I mean, it's incredible. To be able to travel around like we do and play music for people, and for the most part, people enjoy it, which is great. But to do that for a job, I mean, that's the best thing. That's the best thing. And I spent the majority of my life doing it for free because I loved it, so it's wonderful.
I always find it so inspiring to hear very early Grappelli, very early Django. It's the beginning of such a beautiful journey. It's quite extraordinary to imagine what it would have been like to be there at the time to see these two people together.
Django Reinhardt created this music. He was playing in a group somewhere while Stephane Grappelli was playing in another group at the same spot, and they would get together backstage and start jamming, and more people, more of Django friends started coming to these jams, and gypsy jazz was born out of that, which is very strange and such a great thing that happened.
And I think Stephane Grappelli and Django in some ways, similarly, early on in their life had very much the same professional origin, if you will. They both played for parties and entertainment, and They had very humble beginnings.
They're both phenomenal musicians in their own right. And I think they realized they had something special in the chemistry that they both had. They'd go into the studio and they'd just be like, oh, talk about the arrangement and just lay it down, and it was always great. And they were on the same page. If they weren't on the same page, the recordings wouldn't be as great as they are.
Leah Zeger, as far as, first to talk about her as a player, her intonation on the violin and as a vocalist is incredible. Incredible. What a wonderful player. And then she's like our little sister in the band now. She's the sweetest thing. Incredible, incredible.
Leah Zeger is a great singer, and we've been using that in the nhca club to play some of the songs that Django played with a singer. She's a fabulous singer and a fabulous violinist with a big sound and a great energy. She brings a lot of rock into our music.
My mom gave me a violin at 6, and she says I really wanted to play it, which I guess I did, monkey see, monkey do. Yeah, so I was really classically trained, and to get out of that was difficult. I discovered Stephane Grappelli and Django. I started listening to that stuff because I met a friend of mine who gave me the box set. It was really cool to me because, and still is, partly because it's one style that really makes the violin cool. And I can do whatever I want. There's a lot of freedom to it.
She's extraordinarily talented. She has an incredible voice. She's also trained as an opera singer, so it's something I think not a lot of people know. A wonderful classical violinist, as well as somebody who can improvise. As a person, I think she's a delight. I think she's fabulous for this group. I think it's going to hold us all together having Leah in this group, to be honest with you.
The fact that it showcases all of us equally is really great. I'm just happy and relieved that I happen to sing because I cannot play like those guys. I want that one band to make it and just take me on the road and be my gig, and this would be it, man. I have big hopes for this band. I hope that we can just take over the world.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Noticing the days hurrying by when you're in love, my other flowers, bluebirds, all of them gone. Nothing but blue skies from now on.
I don't like recording because I have these high expectations and I want it to be perfect. And Gonzalo's like my favorite artist to work with, and I really want it to sound good. I just have to really calm myself down and be like, whatever. I practiced, I prepared. Actually, the guys know because I always bring some whiskey or something.
Smiling at me, nothing but blue skies, all I see. Blue birds singing their song, nothing but blue skies from now on. Never seen the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by when you're in love, my how they fly, those blue days, all of them gone. Nothing but blue skies, blue skies, blue skies from now on.
My name is Jason Anick, and I'm going to be playing violin. I started playing violin when I was 5. I grew up in a musical family. My dad is a musician as well, and we had violins and guitars and mandolins laying around the house. My dad had a bluegrass band, so music was always around me. To me, gypsy jazz has such an energy that some other styles of jazz just don't have and are missing. That sound is so big and it swings so hard and it's so fun. When I heard people like Grappelli and all the gypsy players, more the improvisers, I was really drawn to it, and I was really drawn to the sound and the feeling and that liveliness and that the improvisation and always playing different things differently.
Jason is awesome. Jason's incredible player. Always wants to play. Whenever he's got his violin, he wants to jam. He's so young, and he's still, it's discouraging as well, seeing all these wonderful young players. It just makes you want to quit.
Jason is a great violinist, and he's so focused, and wow, can he play. He's got some amazing chops. That kid is on fire.
Doing the half step, it sounds. I've always loved teaching and understood the role of a teacher and how important it is in the growth of someone's musical life, musical career. And having that realization with some of the important teachers in my life, and knowing I always knew that I wanted to give back. I learned a lot about my own playing and things I want to work on when I'm teaching as well. So it goes both ways.
He listens to a lot of a bit more modern jazz, and he brings a little bit of that stuff into our style. And he's you can tell he's a musician that practices a lot, so his technique is very, very impressive. And we're planning on doing maybe a lot of the fast numbers with Jay.
To me, Grappelli, he had a sweetness about him, especially when he was playing ballads. What Django did was really amped him up and really brought out the best in him. Like, he always brought his A game when he was playing with Django. And I feel like get that same kind of energy that Grappelli and Django got, Gonzalo and I amping each other up, and when we play together and trading ideas, and you're not trying to play better than but to match and just be on the same level.
1, 2, 3.
record, I always try to bring the best, my best self into the session. If there's a weak link, there's a weak link. So I'm bringing my best to the table. I try to do that always, but yeah, when you know that you're playing with other phenomenal musicians, it makes it easier to bring your best, because it's like, yeah, of course, you got to do it. Think about Gypsy Jazz at the time. I mean, they were stars. I mean, Django and Stephane were, they were stars. And I don't know if that could happen today anymore with instrumental music, with acoustic, music, with jazz.
Stephane Grappelli and Django Reinhardt in some ways couldn't have been more different if they tried. I mean, I think Stephane would have turned up to the gig 2 hours early and Django on time would have been 2 hours late. It was that kind of difference. They were really two very different people.
Django apparently was the most unreliable musician ever, but he was super happy and spending all the money he earned from a recording session or a show on the same night buying a hat or buying a car or buying dinner for everybody. And then if he didn't have one penny, he was just as happy not having anything, When he met Grappelli, who was a little more like a business-oriented, very, I wouldn't say straight and narrow, but he wanted to make sure Django was on time, because there was a good partnership. But I think musically it was back and forth.
I mean, Django in some ways was, I suppose, always the superstar in many ways. Grappelli was probably more a member of the quintet, and obviously Django was very much the front man. But they were very close and very dear.
Rob Hardt is a saxophonist and a clarinetist that we met several years ago in Los Angeles, and he is one of those clarinetists that can play in any key, which has been really helpful for us, because as you can imagine, the guitar keys are not necessarily clarinet keys. Django worked with a clarinetist for a long time, and so we can do some of that stuff with Rob, and that brings a completely different flavor to the ensemble.
To incorporate clarinet into gypsy jazz, it's a much steeper learning curve. Because of the difficulty of the keys, it tends to be people who've really dedicated their life to the clarinet already and kind of stumble upon gypsy jazz.
When I first started playing this music and I was lucky enough to get pulled into playing with Gonzalo, Rob was already there. And Rob is such a world-class player. I've never been that close to someone who was that talented, and not just from a physical standpoint, just what's going on in his brain when he's playing and what he's thinking. I'd never seen anything like that. So to be around that for the time that I was allowed was discouraging.
I have somewhat of a complex life now. I actually started writing software full-time in 2000, and gets me out of the trap of identifying myself solely as a musician. As soon as your identity becomes one of a musician, then when your playing starts to go south, your standing as a human being follows it. So having another completely unrelated aspect to my life has actually, liberated me from some of the hazards of being a musician. I have a certain sense of what I'm going to get out of this project, not to be pessimistic. We get a fair dose of humility from this project, being surrounded by all these great musicians, all at the top of their game, playing very, very difficult music. I'll be happy just to kind of come out alive. Sitting there in the tape rolls, and you know that if someone else on the recording has the best take of their life and you screw it up, there's going to be some animosity floating around there. So you owe it not just to yourself to play it right and play well take after take, but you owe it to those other people sitting around as well. So there's quite a bit of pressure.
I think when I first got into the style, I saw the interest in gypsy jazz growing and growing and growing, and especially here in America, you still don't see, you see a lot of festivals and a lot of new bands coming up, but it's still pretty brand new. You don't see it as solid as you see it in certain countries in Europe. We're happy to, be promoting a little bit of that here.
I don't think it's a music that glimmers and shimmers and is, sugar-coated. It has a wonderful history. It has enormous amounts of, I guess, lack for a better word, substance and story and humanity and life and anguish and pain and journey. And I think as musicians who play this music today, we have to understand that that's all part of it.
I'm just really excited to work with all these players. I really think that it's something that fans of the music would really want to hear, and I wouldn't change a thing. It's a perfect mix.
What really makes the band special is the special friendships, the special chemistry. I mean, I couldn't even possibly convey on camera the kind of craziness that happens. Yeah, there's just no way I could possibly describe it. So maybe through the musical chemistry you can get just a little bit of a taste of that.
I hope when people listen to this, they hear the joy in this music. And it's just it's wonderful, you know? It's so happy. And I hope that people hear it and, you know, maybe makes them want to play it, you know? That's what I hope.
I think that this record will bring a new approach to an old sound and an old style and bring it to new listeners that don't have Django records or want to discover it or looking for like something that came out recently that pays tribute to that old sound. And I think people are curious as to how some of the top players playing gypsy jazz will approach some of these old songs and what they do with them and how they'd improvise over the classics.
Well, I think it's kind of a phenomenon that gypsy jazz is coming back, and there are a lot of Django files out there, and kids want to learn the style. It's pretty amazing. Hopefully this group, the Hot Club, the new Hot Club can just help push it out into the limelight a little more, a lot more, because not enough people know who Django is at all. It's sad, it's a shame.
Sometimes, at least for me, and I know for a lot of people that I know, what's difficult about Django is that the time when it was recorded. So, you know, you listen to music that's made today and it has a certain sound, and then when you have to go back and listen to music that was made in the 30s and 40s, it could sound very old to you, and for that one reason, you might not want to listen to it. So we're trying to make that music the way it would sound today. You know, it's a tribute to Django, so I'm really hoping that people are going to really like the album, but they're going to go back and listen to Django.
It's a little bit more. It's like 20 minutes.